I rushed to my wife, Jessica's hospital room, carefully slipping inside and closing the door behind me. Just to be sure no one could see, I pulled the curtain around her bedside and took a moment to look at her sleeping face. "Why didn't you tell me anything? Am I really that unreliable to you?" I couldn't help but mutter those words, feeling a wave of frustration. I shook my head, pushing those farts away, knowing now wasn't the time. Reaching out to her chest, I gently placed my hand and began unbuttoning her pajama top, one button at a time. My hands trembled as I undid each button, and when I finally saw her body after so long, I noticed how much thinner she had become. It pained me deeply. I slowly reached out to remove her undergarments, carefully pulling them down. What I saw then made me doubt my own eyes. So, that's what it was. "My name is Alex Miller. I work at a real estate company. My wife, Jessica, works in IT. We've been married for 2.5 years, but we don't have any children yet. When we first got married, we were the kind of couple that others would envy, always close and constantly talking about wanting kids. We'd often imagine what life would be like with children. Alex, I'm going to be late at work again tonight, so could you grab something for dinner or eat out? I'm really sorry about this." "Yeah, I got it. But Jessica, are you sure you're okay?" "Huh? What do you mean? I'm in a hurry here." She continued, getting ready without pausing, glancing at me through the mirror. "It's been like this for a while now. You've been coming home late every night, and it wasn't like this before. Is work that tough? Can't you get someone to cover for you, even for a bit? And what do you expect me to do? It's my job. Who else is going to do it? Don't act like you know everything when you don't. It's not just that. We haven't even slept in the same room for weeks. I don't even know when you come home anymore. In the mornings, you're gone before I wake up. And even when we do see each other, we barely talk. This doesn't feel like a marriage anymore. It's like we're just roommates. Is that all you wanted to say?" "What?" Her tone was obviously annoyed, and I felt my own frustration growing. No, I was really getting angry. I tried to stay calm, despite the irritation building up. "Sorry, Alex. My project's nearing the final stages, and it's been nonstop. I really am in a rush. Can I go now? If you have more to say, just write me a note or something. I'll read it when I get back. I've got to go." Without touching the breakfast I had prepared, she filled the tumbler I'd gifted her with black coffee from the coffee maker. She didn't even look back as she rushed out the door. Lately, every night, Jessica comes home late, well past midnight. She leaves just as hurriedly in the morning. Like today, our schedules were so out of sync that we barely spoke anymore. Because of this, we started sleeping in separate rooms at night, and the possibility of having children became non-existent. Jessica and I met during a business meeting. "I'll take full responsibility for this matter." "Yes, thank you for your assistance." I had reached out to an IT company for assistance with a project at work. The person assigned to the project was a beautiful and attentive woman. That woman is now my wife, Jessica. About the other day. "Oh, that. How did it go? Was it successful?" "Yes, I knew asking for your advice was the right move. You're always such a great help. I'll be counting on you again for your advice." "Oh, you're just flattering me." "Sure, let me know if you need anything else." At work, she was clearly someone competent, and it was obvious that her colleagues relied on her a lot. Seeing her professionalism and, at times, her endearing clumsiness, I quickly fell for her. When I confessed my feelings and we started dating, I was already thinking about marriage. I was that captivated by her. "Hey, Jessica, how about we head to the beach resort this weekend? I have a site inspection there, and I thought we could stay at a nice hotel and relax. You've been working nonstop lately. It'd be nice to take a break. Sorry, Alex. I have to go to the office again this weekend. It's crunch time for the project. So if you want to go, you'll have to go alone. What? Again this weekend? It's been like this every week. I hate to say it, but are you sure it's work? What's that supposed to mean? Are you accusing me of something? No, that's not what I meant. Even though I said that, I was beginning to suspect her. She came home late every night, and she wasn't home much on weekends either. And when she was home, she'd constantly get phone calls and leave the room to talk privately for hours. It almost seemed like she was hiding something from me, like there might be someone else. Jessica, is there something you're not telling me? What do you mean? You're making it sound like I'm doing something wrong. I don't mean it like that. I just want to spend more time together as a couple. I hope you feel the same. Remember when we got married? We promised to be honest with each other, to talk things out. I'm not hiding anything. I'm working today, and I'll be working this weekend, too. Right now, my job is important. Why can't you understand that? Forget it. I'll be late tonight, so don't wait up. Jessica, wait. She slammed the door and left for work. I realized that if we didn't address things soon, it might become impossible to fix. The day after our argument, I kept sighing at work, thinking about our conversation. Why did I have to say things like that? As I was lost in thought, Lisa, one of our part-timers, called out to me in a tense voice. Alex, there's a call for you on line 1. Huh. Oh, thanks. Who's calling? It's someone from your wife's company. They seemed really worried, something about the hospital. What? Jessica's at the hospital. What happened? A feeling of dread washed over me as I quickly picked up the phone. Hello. This is Alex Miller speaking. Is this Jessica Miller's husband? Please stay calm and listen. Your wife, Jessica. She was involved in an accident on her way to work. Jessica. What? How is she? Is she? Please, stay calm. She was walking on the sidewalk when a delivery truck, driven by someone who had fallen asleep at the wheel, hit her. She's been taken to the hospital by ambulance. And is she okay? We're not sure yet. She suffered a severe head injury and was unconscious when the ambulance arrived. She's currently undergoing emergency surgery. I'll tell you which hospital she's been taken to. From that point on, everything became a blur. I don't remember how I got to the hospital, or what I told Lisa, the part-timer, or the president when I left. All I could focus on was praying for Jessica's safety. By the time I realized it, I was standing in front of the operating room where she was being treated. After thanking Jessica's colleague, who had waited for me at the hospital, I sat down on a bench in the hallway. I stared blankly at the red light above the door, still trying to process everything. Are you a family member of Ms. Miller? Yes. How is she? Is she okay? You're Jessica Miller's husband, correct? First, I want to tell you that the surgery was successful. She's pulled through, and she's alive. She fought hard. The doctor nodded as he looked into my eyes. Thank you so much. I bowed my head in gratitude. Please, you don't need to do that. But there's something else you need to know. What is it? Even though her life was saved, I wondered what more there could be. Seeing the doctor's somber expression filled me with anxiety. Her life was saved, but things won't be the same as before. What? What do you mean? Is there going to be any lasting damage? No, it's not about long-term effects. She hasn't regained consciousness. What? The anesthesia should have worn off by now, but she still hasn't woken up. We're in a critical situation. Everything went dark before my eyes. At this point, we predict she may remain in a vegetative state. There's only a 5% chance of her regaining consciousness. We've done all we can. It's up to her now. I clung to the doctor, shaking him. Wait, are you saying Jessica might never wake up? That I might never see her again? Doctor, Mr. Miller, please calm down. Mr. Miller, someone, help. The nurse's voice sounded distant as I felt my world collapse. I lost control, grabbing onto the doctor, and a strong male nurse had to restrain me. That morning, why did it have to end in an argument? I couldn't stand the thought of never making up with Jessica, of losing her like this. In her hospital bed, with tubes everywhere, I held Jessica's hand, staring at her peaceful face, wishing she would open her eyes and call my name again. I prayed, over and over, for her to wake up. Alex. I hadn't even noticed the knock at the hospital room door. Kevin, Jessica's brother, called out to me as he tapped my shoulder. Kevin. Jessica. How could this happen? Kevin and his wife, Susan, had just visited our home recently, enjoying Jessica's home-cooked meal together. Now, seeing Jessica lying there motionless, Susan's eyes filled with tears. It's hard to believe. Jessica was so full of life. And now, Jessica, wake up. It's me, Emma. You promised we'd play again. You said you'd help me choose my birthday cake for when I turn 6. You can pick whichever one you like. Their niece, Emma, who was about to turn 6, gently held Jessica's hand. Emma, thank you for coming. The surgery was successful, so she'll be better soon. She's just resting for now. Once the medicine wears off, she'll wake up. Seeing the tears welling up in her eyes, my heart ached. Really? I nodded firmly, and Kevin jumped in to reassure her. Alex says it's going to be okay, so it will be. You want to play with Jessica again, right? For now we have to let her rest so she can get better. As expected, he was the steady father figure she needed in this moment. Yeah, Jessica promised we'd play again. Hey, Dad, do you think Jessica is really okay? She looks like she's in pain with all those bandages. Emma gently stroked Jessica's hand, looking worried. Jessica and I buried a time capsule in the garden not long ago. She said we'd open it when I turned 10. Jessica, wake up soon. Emma's always loved Jessica since she was a baby. Emma then tugged at my arm. What is it? She whispered softly. This is from Jessica. She told me to give it to you, Alex. She handed me the envelope. It was a simple, light blue envelope with my name written on it in Jessica's familiar handwriting. Make sure you read it alone. Jessica asked me to tell you that. It seemed that Jessica had entrusted the letter she wrote for me to Emma. She had told Emma to give it to me if anything ever happened to her. Jessica said if something happened to her, I should give it to you. I thought now was the right time, so thank you, Emma. I'll read it later. When Jessica wakes up, I'll tell her that you kept your promise. Yay, and tell her we'll play again. Next time I visit, I'll bring the game she wanted to play. I promise I'll tell her. Alex, please take care of my sister, Jessica. Of course. I'll call you as soon as she wakes up. And if you need anything at all, just call. I'll be here right away. Thank you. I really appreciate it. With that, Kevin and his family left, worried about Jessica and me. I put the letter Emma had given me into my bag, told Jessica I'd see her tomorrow, and informed the nurses at the station before heading home. Ever since Jessica fell into a vegetative state, I started visiting her every morning before work, then heading straight to my job. After work, I would rush back to the hospital to be with her, staying until visiting hours were over, talking to her all the while. That night, on my way back home, I picked up takeout for dinner and walked into an empty house. I'm home. Hi, as if anyone would say welcome back. It's strange, but I never realized just how quiet the house feels when you're alone. I sat down at the dining table, ready to eat the takeout I'd bought, when I suddenly remembered Jessica's letter. Curious about what she had written, I set my dinner aside and opened the letter. What I read was unbelievable. To Alex. Alex, if you're reading this, it likely means that I am no longer in this world. There's something I need to apologize for. When we get married, we promised each other that we wouldn't keep any secrets, but I've been hiding something very big from you. It's time I tell you about it. A while ago, I was the leader of a project team at my company, working on developing an AI-based security system. It was designed to automatically respond to hacking attempts in real time and was intended for use by major corporations and the government. However, during development, the crucial AI system data was leaked, and I was framed as the culprit. Of course, I didn't do it. It was a complete setup, but evidence was fabricated against me, leaving me with no way to defend myself. As a result, I was forced to pay a large amount in damages. To cover the debt, I started taking on side jobs without telling you. But don't worry, it wasn't anything shady or immoral. I was developing systems for factory automation. By now, you probably realized that the reason I've been coming home late every night was because of this. I was not having an affair, so please don't worry. With the deadlines piling up and balancing my main job, I became increasingly stressed, and I know I was cold to you. I'm truly sorry. You may not have noticed, but I injured my chest while installing a machine in the factory, and the scar is still there. Fortunately, it wasn't a serious injury, but I hid it from you because I didn't want you to see. Since I'm probably not alive as you read this, I felt it was time to confess. I'm sorry for keeping this secret until now. I didn't want to burden you, Alex, so I kept it to myself. But if I'm no longer here, the damages claim will eventually reach you. That's why I decided to write this letter. If I'm gone, please use the insurance money to settle the remaining debt. Alex, thank you for marrying me. I may not have been the best wife, but I loved you. Thank you for everything, and I'm truly sorry. Love, Jessica. After finishing the letter, I couldn't sit still, and I drove straight to the hospital where Jessica was staying. As I passed the nurse's station, someone called out to me unexpectedly, "Mr. Miller, I thought you had gone home. Did you forget something?" "Yay, something like that. Visiting hours are over, so please keep quiet, okay?" I'm sorry. Even though visiting hours were over, I felt grateful to the nurse who let me into the ward, and I headed to Jessica's room. I gently opened the front of Jessica's pajama top and slightly pulled down the undergarment beneath it. There, I saw a fresh, keloid-like scar. This kind of scar wasn't there before. It was clearly a recent one. At that moment, I realized that everything written in the letter was true. I regretted not noticing how much she had been suffering, and I felt a surge of anger toward the person who had hurt her, and I resolved to prove her innocence. Even though I made up my mind, I wasn't working in the same company as Jessica, and I didn't know her colleagues well. Not knowing the circumstances, I was at a loss as to how to proceed. "Welcome. What brings you in today?" "Oh, it's Thomas, right? Hey, it's Jessica's husband. What a coincidence, huh? Is this your workplace?" One day, Thomas, who works at the same company as Jessica, came to the real estate office where I work. "Long time no see. So, how does it feel to be the one who stole Jessica and managed to marry her?" "Hey, stop saying confusing things like that in front of the store. I didn't steal her." "Well, maybe steal is a bit much, but if you hadn't come along, maybe I'd be married to Jessica right now. I had been pursuing her for a long time, but you suddenly showed up and snatched her away. And now Jessica is in a vegetative state, right? Must be tough. She might never wake up again." "That's not true. She's getting treatment, and she will wake up soon. I don't know, man. They say the chances of waking up from that state are slim. Maybe it's time to give up. Stop it. Oh, are you mad? All right, all right. Just take care of her as best as you can. So what brings you here today? If you don't have any business here, I'll have to ask you to leave. What you're doing is obstruction of business, you know. Don't get so upset. I was just teasing you a little. I actually have reason for being here. I'm thinking about moving into a tower apartment, so I came to consult with you. Are there any good properties around here? Close to the station, relatively new. I'd like a place with a convenience store nearby, and, oh, a 24-hour concierge service would be nice. Wait a minute. A tower apartment. Your work's been going well lately, and I've got some extra money. So I thought it'd be a good time to move into a tower apartment. I see. Well, for a tower apartment, we need to conduct a screening process for the applicant, so I can't show you anything today. I'd like you to come back in 2 weeks for another appointment. 2 weeks, that's a bit long. But well, considering the amount of money involved, I understand. Make sure to conduct a thorough screening. I'll come back then. Oh, and say hi to your wife, for me. With a sly grin, Thomas left the office. Using the documents Thomas had submitted, I checked his credit information and bank balance. Sure enough, the balance was quite high, which surprised me. However, something felt off. Considering his age and position, the amount seemed disproportionate. It was unusually large. Could it be that he's investing in stocks or mutual funds? If not, then I started to become suspicious of Thomas. I decided to consult someone about it. Alex, what's going on? Did something happen to Jessica? I called Susan, who works at a bank. I'm sorry for calling you at work like this. Jessica's still the same, there's no change in her condition, but I need you to check something for me. For me? What is it? I want to know the recent deposit activity of someone who has an account at your bank. Is there any way you could help me with that? Deposit activity? You mean the transaction details? Well, that's confidential information, so even if it's for a family member, it's not something I can disclose easily. You'd need to provide certain documents for verification. Well, it's not for personal reasons. It's for a credit check related to a real estate transaction. I need to verify the stability of income for a client interested in purchasing a tower apartment. Even in that case, is it difficult to get that information for a real estate transaction? Oh, if that's the case, as long as the required documents are submitted, we can check even for third parties. If you come by now, I can get the information right away. What do you think? I went to the bank where Susan works and obtained the recent deposit activity for Thomas. There was a suspicious flow of money. Alex, here's the transaction activity for Thomas Brown over the past 6 months. Thank you, Susan. Did you notice anything unusual? Yes, actually, there's something that caught my attention. Look at this section. See, about a month ago, there was a sudden large transfer from Company B. Before that, there were no significant deposits, and his salary was just a little above that of an average office worker. Really, that's quite a large amount. With that kind of money, it's no wonder he wants to move into a tower apartment. I'd be tempted too. The account data Susan showed me revealed that, a month ago, there had been a large transfer from Company B, a rival of Jessica's company, to Thomas's account. And this Company B had just launched a major AI-based security system shortly after Jessica was framed. Armed with this information, I decided to meet with someone. I understand what you're saying. So, this is the evidence, correct? Yes. Based on this information, I believe there is a high possibility that Mr. Brown was involved in leaking information to Company B. I gathered all the evidence suggesting that Thomas had been leaking information to Company B and headed to Jessica's company. Even though I visited without an appointment, the president courteously listened to my story. Trusting his sincerity, I decided to reveal everything I knew. Mr. Miller, thank you for coming today. It's a shameful matter for our company, but we can't turn a blind eye. To think something like this could happen within our organization. For the future of this company, we need to root out the problem here. We will also need to change our company structure. Therefore, I plan to conduct a confidential investigation into this matter. Really? You believe me? Of course. At the time, I found it hard to believe that Jessica would do such a thing. But every piece of evidence seemed to point to her involvement, and it kept piling up. We had no choice but to believe the information. That was my failure. I'm truly sorry. The president apologized to me. After expressing my thanks, I left the president's office. 2 days before the 2-week deadline I had given Thomas regarding the Tower apartment screening, I visited Jessica's hospital room, where she still lay unconscious. Jessica, can you hear me? Your name will be cleared soon. I'm sure the president will make things right. Everyone's waiting for you to wake up. Emma came by again yesterday. She lay down on your bed and read her Ella textbook out loud for her homework. She's gotten so fluent. It's amazing how fast kids grow. You need to wake up soon, or she'll become a big sister who can read all those difficult texts before you know it. And remember, you promised to go camping with Kevin's family. It's getting colder, so while I was having my usual one-sided conversation with Jessica, which had become my daily routine, there was a knock at the door. I assumed it was a nurse making her rounds, and responded, "Yes, come in." "Hello, Mr. Miller. Thank you for your help the other day. How is Jessica doing?" "President, thank you so much for coming. Jessica is still the same, but today her complexion looks a bit better. Maybe she's having a pleasant dream." That's good to hear. I wanted to speak with you directly, so I'm sorry for the sudden visit. Could we have a moment alone? Thank you. Sorry for the trouble. The president asked his secretary to wait in the hallway, took a seat as I offered him a chair, and began to speak while looking me in the eyes. "Sorry about that. I want to keep this as discreet as possible. So, what is it you wanted to talk to me about?" "I'm here today to report on the internal investigation to you, Mr. Miller. As you suspected, our employee Thomas was indeed connected with the upper management of Company B, our competitor. I knew it. Additionally, we discovered that Thomas instructed his subordinate to fabricate evidence to frame Jessica. No way. We have records of the communication between Thomas and his subordinate. We've already questioned the subordinate, who admitted to being bribed by Thomas. We now have sufficient evidence. Does that mean Jessica is innocent?" "Yes, she is innocent. The next step is to take this case to court. This will clear her name. It will take some time, but I am confident we will have good news soon. Please be patient a little longer." The president left the room after saying this. "Thank you so much for everything. Please, it's us who should be thanking you. We ruined the life of one of our employees. As a leader, I cannot excuse such a failure, no matter how much I apologize. I was prepared for a lawsuit from the family, but you, Mr. Miller, are such a compassionate person." "Compassionate? I'm not so sure about that. If I can clear Jessica's name, that's all I need. I really appreciate everything you've done, President." The president and I exchanged a firm handshake, expressing our gratitude to each other. In court, her innocence was proven. Thomas was charged with leaking information and framing Jessica, and he received a prison sentence. Shockingly, the investigation also revealed suspicions that he might have been involved in Jessica's accident, and further investigation is underway. If that's the case, I will never forgive Thomas. Having lost his job and facing a lawsuit for damages, the dream of buying a tower apartment became just that, a dream. Whether Thomas, now unemployed and facing massive damages, will manage is no concern of mine. He must pay for his crimes. I went to the hospital to report the news to the still sleeping Jessica. Jessica, listen. I have good news today. Your name has been cleared. The president cooperated with the investigation and took the case to court. There's nothing to worry about anymore. As I gently held Jessica's hand, I felt her fingers move slightly for a moment. Thinking it might be my imagination, I tried again. This time, I squeezed her hand more firmly. Her fingers moved slightly again. I quickly pressed on her skull button. Blood pressure, pulse, and breathing all normal. Yes, she's clearly responding more than before. It seems she is conscious. It looks like she can hear us. Jessica, can you hear me? It's Dr. Smith. I'm going to move your hand a little. The doctor stimulated her hand and foot, checking for reactions. Though slight, her eyelids and fingers moved, which hadn't happened before. I was overjoyed and spoke to her many times. Alex, Jessica is trying hard to wake up. Please keep talking to her every day and rub her hands or feet. You can apply a bit of pressure. Give her as much stimulation as you can. She will wake up. Let's believe in her and stay strong. From that day on, I spoke to her every day. I had always talked to her, but knowing she could hear me made me happy. And I talked even more. Visiting hours felt too short. Sometimes, I decorated the room with flowers for Jessica, who loved them. For her, who always wanted a cat, I played cat videos. I even brewed her favorite coffee, bringing it close to her nose so she could smell the aroma. I focused on stimulating all her senses and talked to her about everything as I did. Every day, Jessica's reactions increased, and I felt a sense of hope. Then one day, unexpectedly, it happened. Good morning. Oh, Alex. Good morning. You're here earlier than usual today. What brings you in? It's Wednesday, and I'm off work today. So I thought I'd spend the whole day with you. I even made a lunchbox to eat together here. While you two are so close, I'm sure your wife is really happy. I wish my husband would be as attentive to me. He just leaves me alone most of the time. The only words he ever says are, "Is dinner ready?" or "Where are my socks?" It's always, "No, dinner isn't ready yet, and the socks are in the bottom drawer of the chest." That's the only conversation we have. Honestly, I wish my husband would learn from you, Alex. Oh, I shouldn't be chatting like this. The head nurse will scold me again. Well, see you later. Let me know if you need anything. Please, take your time. Thank you. After exchanging the usual greetings with the chatty veteran nurse, I entered Jessica's room. I put the fragrant fruit I had brought into the fridge and was about to boil water in the pot to make the morning coffee when I heard a faint, unmistakable voice behind me. I heard a faint, raspy, but unmistakable voice of Jessica behind me. When I turned around instinctively, Jessica, I hurriedly tried to press the nurse call button, but my hands were trembling, making it hard to press. Somehow I managed to press it, and the nurse's calm voice came through. "Yes, Alex. What's the matter? Please come quickly. Jessica, calm down. I'm on my way. Hang in there." Jessica opened her eyes. What? After 10 months, Jessica finally woke up. "Jessica, how are you feeling? You ask that every day." "Well, can you blame me? You were asleep for 10 months. Thank you so much." I was worried I'd never be able to talk with you like this again. Even when I had the accident, I was thinking, why did I say such things? And all this time, I kept hearing your voice in my dreams. I could hear you, but I couldn't respond. It was so frustrating. Is that so? My voice really reached you, Jessica. I've been regretting it ever since that day. Why didn't I realize sooner? Why didn't I notice what you were going through? No, it wasn't your fault, Alex. It was mine. We promised we wouldn't keep secrets, but I was lying to you every day. You must have suspected me of cheating, didn't you? Yeah, I did. But when Emma gave me the letter, I learned the truth. I felt so ashamed for doubting you, even for a moment. I'm really sorry. I want to thank Emma too. In hindsight, it was a heavy burden to give to a 6-year-old. A will, no less. Wait, that was a will. Of course, that's what it was meant to be. So, if you read it, you might have seen. Oh, you mean the scar on your chest. Yes, I didn't want you to see it. That's why I started sleeping in a different room. Really. I thought it was just because our schedules had gotten so different. No, if we'd stayed in the same room, you might have seen it while I was changing. I didn't know how to explain it. I see. Alex, it might be too late now, but I'm really sorry. I forgave her. And we promised to share everything and consult each other from now on. Jessica, watch your step. Emma, you worry too much. Who do you get that from? Hey, Jessica, she's just concerned about you. Don't be so harsh. Sorry, Emma. Hut, Alex, don't be too hard on her. But I'm so excited about the baby. When is it due? Emma, you asked last week, remember? It's due at the end of next month. I can't wait. When the baby's here, I'll play with them all the time. Huh? Emma, are you not going to play with me anymore? I will be lonely. Of course, I'll play with you too, Jessica. We still have to open the time capsule. Right. I'm looking forward to it. After being discharged and returning to work, Jessica now works as if she had never been in a coma for 10 months. Her achievements were recognized, and she was promoted to an important position. She is busy but healthy and happy. Our marriage is different now. Even though we're both busy, we never miss a chance to talk and have built a joyful home together. With Kevin's family moving nearby, Emma often visits, much to Jessica's delight. Jessica, are you feeling okay? If work is too much. Oh, come on. I know. I'm fine. I won't push myself too hard. If things get tough, I'll ask for help, and I'll take care of myself. After all, it's almost time. She lovingly rubbed her belly, and it had become a familiar sight. Yes, there is a new life growing inside Jessica, and by the end of next month, we will become a family of 3. Since the day I received the call about the accident, time has flown by, but I never gave up on Jessica's life and on proving her innocence. Being here now is not something to take for granted. Things could be lost in an instant. To avoid ever feeling that pain again, no matter how tired I am, I always make time for conversations with Jessica and savor every moment of our happiness.
Get out, you worthless wife who can't even do household chores. I sat on the floor, berated and belittled. My mother-in-law glared at me. I've got Mauricio and my mom. We don't need you. You always look so miserable. You are just a parasite. My sister-in-law, who never lifts a finger around the house, said this with a tone of utter disdain. Wait a minute, Mauricio. Your mom and sister are being too harsh. I've been. Before I could finish, even my husband Mauricio looked down on me. My mom and sister are right. I don't need a wife who can't handle housework while working. Besides, I've got a young part-time girl who's much better. pack your bags and leave." Stunned by Mauricio's words, all three began to berate me, calling me a failure of a wife. I clenched my fists, looking down. After exploiting me all the time, how dare they? "Just you wait, I'll make sure you all get what's coming to you." But I looked at the three of them and said, without changing my expression, "Fine, I'll leave." The downfall of the family that's been dumping everything on me begins now. My name is Eleanor. I'm 32 and a working housewife. Most women work after marriage these days, and I've continued to work at the company I joined after graduating college because I love my job. One morning, as I was busy getting ready for work, Mauricio spoke up. "Hey Eleanor, can you handle this? Tax season is coming up." He handed me a pile of receipts and invoices. "Again? You should handle your own shop's accounting." Mauricio looked away. "You know I'm bad at that stuff. So, please?" I married Mauricio 5 years ago. Mauricio used to work as a clerk at a restaurant that I occasionally stopped by. After several dates, we decided to get married. Now, Mauricio runs his dream cafe, but he leaves all the tedious tasks like procurement and accounting to me. As I head to the door, my mother-in-law chimes in. "Eleanor, I want Chinese food tonight." "All right, can you prepare the ingredients?" "No way. You can do it when you get back. Also, Vivian and the kids are coming this weekend. Make sure you prepare something they can eat." "Fine," I replied reluctantly and left the house. When we got married, I wanted to live just with Mauricio, but he insisted that we live with his mother because he was worried about her living alone. So, we moved to his spacious family home. My mother-in-law is terrible at housekeeping, and the place was a mess when we moved in. She lives on a pension and spends most of it on eating out because she doesn't want to cook. Mauricio always says housework is a woman's job, so even though I work, I'm stuck doing all the chores for the whole family. On top of that, my sister-in-law Vivian, who's moved out since getting married, often comes back home with her kids. When she's here, the workload increases. This morning, when I heard she's coming back this weekend, I thought, oh, not again. And then, the dreaded weekend arrives. I'd love to relax on my weekends off from work, but instead, I have to entertain Vivian's kids and prepare meals. While I'm running around, Vivian drops a bombshell on me. "Eleanor, by the way, I'm getting divorced and moving back here with the kids next month. Just so you know." "What? Are you serious? Got a problem with that?" No. That must be tough for you. When are you moving back?" "As soon as I can. My sister-in-law is coming home with the kids." I'm initially taken aback, but then reconsidered. Vivian used to be a housewife, so she'll probably help around the house. That should lighten my load a bit. Though we're not particularly close, I look forward to having less work and go about my days. But I soon realize I was too optimistic. Vivian, like her mother, does absolutely nothing. She lounges around all day, watching TV and snacking. She neither works nor does housework. Apparently, her neglect of household duties was a major reason for her divorce. Now, I have to do all the chores, including making meals for her picky kids and getting them ready for kindergarten. As time passes, my job gets busier with a new project, requiring more overtime and early starts. The house becomes increasingly messy. Coming home to a cluttered house is utterly disappointing. And yet, everyone keeps saying, "When's dinner?" Or, "You're so slow." To make matters worse, I start getting passive-aggressive comments from Vivian and my mother-in-law. "Eleanor, the laundry is piling up. Just because you work doesn't mean you can slack off." "But I'm busy too." As I try to argue, Vivian cuts in. Talking back to your mother-in-law? You're so bold, Eleanor. And you've been buying all the meals. That's not good for the kids. If you're home, can't you help out a bit? What are you saying? Mauricio is a business owner. You don't have to work, you're just doing it out of selfishness. So, fulfill your duties as a wife perfectly. I was speechless, and both of them looked at me as if it was all perfectly normal. That night, I was so angry I could explode, so I talked to Mauricio. I'm busy with work, and neither your mom nor your sister is helping with the housework. You're not bad-mouthing my mom and sister, are you? Mauricio glares at me. I replied in amazement. No, that's not it. But I can't handle all the housework by myself. If you could help me a little. I'm busy running a business. You might not understand because you have an easy office job, but running a business is hard. Besides, housework is a wife's job, isn't it? Don't expect me to do it. Are you serious? Mauricio just goes to sleep, leaving me to stew in my thoughts. But then, an idea comes to me. I came up with a good idea. I quickly grab my phone and make some online purchases before going to sleep. A few days later, a bunch of new appliances arrive. A drum washer-dryer, a cleaning robot, and kitchen appliances with automatic cooking functions. If no one's going to help me, I might as well make my chores easier with some handy gadgets. As the delivery guys are bringing in the washer, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law show up. You bought a new washer without asking? The old one still works. But it's old, and this will make laundry faster and easier. What's all this? A cleaning robot and cooking appliances? Eleanor, come here. I'm summoned to the living room, where they're sitting on the sofa, and I'm told to sit on the floor. Mauricio is there too, sitting next to his mom, looking smug. What's going on? My mother-in-law shouts. What do you mean, what's going on? You buy all these lazy gadgets with the household money, what are you thinking? I thought it would make housework more efficient. It's not about efficiency. People these days rely too much on machines. My sister-in-law chimes in. Exactly, Eleanor. And those are luxury items. The appliances we have are still usable. You're just being wasteful because Mauricio is a business owner. She glares at me, and Mauricio nods in agreement. But You're just trying to make life easier for yourself. Can't you even do housework properly? I wanted to say, look who's talking, but I kept quiet. Finally, my mother-in-law, perhaps frustrated by my silence, snaps. If you can't even do housework properly, you should just leave. I look at her in shock. She glares back at me. We don't need you. Mauricio and I are fine without you. You always look so tired and miserable. You're just a parasite. My sister-in-law spoke in a tone that suggested she was fed up. Wait a minute, Mauricio. Your mom and sister are being way too harsh. When I turned to Mauricio for support, he looked down on me and said, They're right. I don't need a wife who can't handle housework. I stared at Mauricio in disbelief, but he just smirked. I'm a business owner, and I can do whatever I want with my money. I don't need a wife who spends it to make her life easier. Why would you say something like that? Besides, I've been getting along well with a young part-time worker. She's cute, unlike you. Pack your bags and leave. Stunned by Mauricio's words, all three began to berate me, calling me a failure of a wife. I clenched my fists in anger. After exploiting me all this time, they dare to say this? Just you wait, I'll make you regret this. But I kept my composure and said, Fine, I'll leave. Good, we'll be better off without you. My mother-in-law spat out, and I silently stood up and placed something on the table. Mauricio, let's get divorced. It was a pre-filled divorce application. I had gotten it as a sort of talisman, tired of everything. Fine, I'll sign it. But don't regret it later. Mauricio signed the papers. And I packed my bags and moved to a weekly apartment that same day. No one came to see me off. I submitted the divorce papers to the city hall and rented a condo. Around the same time, I accepted a promotion I had been refusing due to housework and became a department head. I was able to advance my career, which I had almost given up on, and I became more and more immersed in my work. Thrilled that no one was there to hinder me. More than anything else, I was overjoyed. About a week after leaving, my former mother-in-law started calling. But I was busy and had no desire to talk to someone who had called me a worthless wife. I continued to ignore her calls. A year later, on a day off, she called again. Thinking it was time to settle things, I answered. Hello? Ah. Eleanor, you finally answered. How could you ignore me for over a year? What do you want? Well, how are you doing? Are you okay? I answered her probing question straightforwardly. I'm doing great, working hard in my own apartment. I've been promoted and my salary has increased. I'm living comfortably. Is that so? Would you consider coming back? Her tone was almost pleading, and I asked, shivering. Why now? We are in trouble. We're running out of money. I couldn't help but smirk as I responded. Oh, Mauricio's shop isn't even making a $1,000 profit, huh? And neither you nor your daughter work, so that makes sense. Eleanor, you knew? Yes, I knew. Mauricio's cafe was only making about $800 a month in profit. I was the one handling the finances, so of course, I knew. Mauricio, who acted like a big-shot business owner but didn't do any proper management or customer service, probably had no idea. Of course I knew. I was the one doing all the accounting and inventory. What? Why didn't you say something? I had no idea you were a manager at a big company and contributing so much to our living expenses. Yes, I was putting in over $3,000 a month. That's how everyone was able to live. I had been supplementing the family income with my own salary because I knew Mauricio's shop wasn't making much. Mauricio probably realized he couldn't make ends meet without my income only after I left. Please, Eleanor, come back. By the way, what happened to Mauricio's shop? Ignoring my former mother-in-law's plea, I asked. Mauricio's shop is going under next month. Even the part-time girl left him. That figures. With such sloppy management, he can't keep a business running. And he's too proud to do what needs to be done. No woman would want to be with a man like that. I chuckled, and my former mother-in-law was at a loss for words. Can we wrap this up? I'm busy. She hurriedly continued. Also, the house has been a mess since you left. A mess? According to her, the house was in chaos because no one was doing any housework. The house was cluttered, no one was cooking so they had to buy food, and they couldn't even afford a new washing machine. It would have been nice if you'd left those appliances. Ex-mother-in-law says. What are you talking about? Weren't those lazy appliances? And what's wrong with taking things that I paid for? I shouldn't have said that. But I never thought the house would become like this just because no one was doing the chores. I asked, getting a bit irritated. Isn't it strange that 3 adults can't manage the housework? What are your daughter and Mauricio doing? She lowered her voice. Well, Mauricio is sulking at home all day, doing nothing since he found out his shop isn't making any money. Really? He said he could do whatever he wanted with his money because he's a business owner. And Vivian won't work no matter how much I tell her. She doesn't do housework, and she even asks me for pocket money for herself and her kids. My pension is running out. Really? Your daughter told me she didn't need me because she had you. I said coldly. My former mother-in-law tried to butter me up again. Please, Eleanor, my pension isn't enough for the three of us anymore. I have no intention of going back to that house. Your children are quite the parasites, aren't they? She was speechless. As I was about to hang up, she continued. Eleanor, we'll change our ways. Please come back. Let's all live happily together again, okay? Live happily with a worthless wife? I cut her off, and she stumbled over her words but continued to plead. I'm sorry for what I said. We are family. Help us. We can't even pay the property taxes anymore. We'll have to sell the house. I have neither the obligation nor the desire to help you. Figure it out yourselves. Goodbye from your worthless wife. Ignoring her ongoing wails, I hung up and blocked her number. Sipping my coffee in my clean apartment, I chuckled. 3 months later, I happened to pass by Mauricio's cafe. It had become a vacant storefront. It seemed he really had gone out of business. Even their family home was listed as sold. According to a former neighbor I ran into, the three of them had sold the house and fled, now living in a cramped apartment nearby. They were a constant neighborhood nuisance, always fighting and even stinking up the place. Complaints were piling up. All they had to do was work hard and take care of their home without relying on others. But they didn't, which was so like them. I looked at their former home with detached eyes and walked away. Since then, I've been focusing on my work. Recently, a sincere and hardworking colleague confessed his feelings for me, saying, I love how dedicated you are to your work. We are dating with the intention of getting married. I don't think my next marriage is too far off. And this time, I'm looking forward to grabbing hold of happiness.